reducing that to 30. And the problem, obviously, is that whenever you have a missile field, you always have to be concerned of, is it fully operational? Are there any threats to that missile field? So when you lessen the resources that you have, you create vulnerabilities. Now, this isn't technology that's unproven. This is proven technology where we were in the process of its construction and deployment that the administration decided not to go forward with.
The hole's already dug. The silo's already there.
Yes.
And they were going to save $120 million by not finishing them. And some of those are in California, right?
Yes, well, there's a number of missiles that were to be in California and then in Alaska. Already $230 million plus had been spent building out this missile field. So that money will be wasted as that missile field just sits there as you just saw it.
And it doesn't save the whole $120 million because there's a certain amount that has to be spent to shut this down. And
certainly.
Was that about $80 million or so?
Well, there is another item in that budget which is very curious to the people on the committee, and that is an $80 million item that the administration put in to dismantle North Korea's nuclear facilities. $80 million that I think you believe and most of us believe they'll never get to spend. So what they will have done is they will have stopped construction to complete this missile field, taken $120 million out of it. They have put a line item in for $80 million to go to North Korea and take apart their facility. And that money will probably still be sitting there at the end of the year. So we'll have a missile field that's not finished, and what really would constitute wish dollars that are not going to be spent this year.
And we have several different defenses. The missile defense, as you mentioned, it comprises several different things. This is the anti-ballistic missile,
correct?
The ground silos, but we have other methods, like we were talking earlier about before we went on the show,
airborne laser,
about the airborne laser, which is being built right in the Antelope Valley, and they cut that.
Right, and I think this is in addition to cutting existing programs like the ground-based missile interceptors that were going to be in Alaska that we just saw on the slide. You know, the whole hope of missile defense is that once we accomplish a task, when we can take an interceptor missile and actually prove that it can hit an ICBM and stop its threat to the United States, that's first-generation technology. The next generation, how we get to our innovation from there, will depend really on perfecting what we're doing. Whenever we stop something, we don't know what next generation that we've not been able to create or to benefit from. And the airborne laser is a great example. The airborne laser, there is one that has been built. It is going to be tested this fall, and it's going to be a game changer, really, in missile defense. You know, it's a 747 plane that has a large missile on it that is intended to knock out of the sky ICBMs at various stages that it might be launched. It has great distance and great effect and an ability to fire multiple times, which you won't see with a missile interceptor. The problem is that there was to be another generation of the airborne laser that was to be built. The administration cut that. Now we worry about the science and technology and the research that would have been done. When this airborne laser is tested this fall, and if it is a game changer that we all believe it is, and if it proves that it will be the best defenses for the United States, we need to move forward with additional research and development so we can have this type of technology to protect us. And
then what about Europe?
Well, the same thing there. This administration is unfortunately not pursuing what's known as the third site, which is in Poland and the Czech Republic. They had been moving forward to work with the United States and NATO to place a radar in the Czech Republic and missile interceptors in Poland that would have provided additional protection to the United States from a launch from Iran, but would also have provided protection for Europe. This administration, when they came in, the president apparently wrote a letter right away to Russia and said, well, if you'll come to the table and help us with Iran, we'll give up the missiles and our missile defense shield in Europe, without really consulting the European leadership. So they were really left on a limb there because they had really pushed forward in responding to the United States to deploy that. In this budget, unfortunately, the administration asked for cuts for that site, and those cuts were in the bill. That's of grave concern because here we know Iran, just like North Korea, is continuing its quest to have missiles that can reach the United States, is continuing its nuclear program, attempting to become a nuclear power, And without these defenses, these are our only methods of defense currently, we could be vulnerable to them.
So just to recap that, we cut $1.2 billion
across the program
out of missile defense at a time when Korea and Iran are stepping up production of capability in missile launchers and warheads, because Korea also has tested nuclear weapons. And we cut our Alaska and California missile defense. We cut the laser missile defense, and we undercut our allies by cutting out their missile defense that we had committed to and now have pulled back from, in the hopes that Russia may help us with Iran.
Absolutely. And you just outlined it in a way that really should give everyone pause, because if you're anyone paying attention at all, you know that North Korea and Iran are on a path where they want to be a threat to the United States. So we have an increasing threat, and this administration seeking decreasing funding for what is really our only shield for defense, and that is missile defense.
You know, our committee is basically pretty bipartisan. You know, I also serve on the Education Labor Committee, which is a very partisan committee. But Armed Services, I tell people at home when we're visiting, I say, our fights on the committee mostly aren't between Republicans and Democrats. They're between Army and Navy and Air Force, and, you know, those kind of things. But one of the things that really disturbs me, I've been around a long time, and I've seen where we have cut back our defense after major wars. We started World War II training with wooden rifles because we had cut so much after World War I. Fortunately, because hostilities started in England, we were building ships and planes, and the Lend-Lease program to help them, it had gotten our production started. And the war lasted a number of years. We had time to ramp up our production where we were turning out several planes a day. But then after World War II, we started cutting back our defense to the point where when the hostilities erupted in Korea, the Chinese almost pushed us, or did push us, into the ocean before we could start coming back. After Korea, we cut back again. Then we go into Vietnam. After Vietnam, we cut back again. Desert Storm, then we cut back again. And I've seen this over and over and over again, but usually we've waited till after the wars to cut back. Now we're involved in 2 wars, Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're in the process of cutting back. It just kind of boggles my mind to think that this could actually be happening, and we're kind of the line of defense to try to stop some of these cutbacks.
You're absolutely right. And another thing that is of a concern is that many times we're caught by surprise when we either scale back our military, or there's an enemy or adversary that comes forward in a way that was unexpected. This is North Korea and Iran moving forward notoriously. Everyone knows, and their intentions are well stated. At the same time that we have these programs that are designed to be able to provide us with the defense. So in this instance, we're knowingly stepping in and reducing the one area that would allow us to be defending ourselves against known adversaries and known programs that they're advancing.
We had another thing that was cut in the budget, F-22. I don't know when this program is going to be seen, but we're here in Washington today, and the Senate just voted to follow the administration's request to cut the F-22. When I ran for Congress, we were building the B-2, actually in my district, and I had chance on many occasions to visit the assembly line and see how we were building that plane, what a marvel it was, and how important it would be to our defense. The plan was to build 132, finally got cut down to 20, and then we, through a lot of effort, got one more plane, 21, which one of them we lost last year. We're back down to 20. The F-22 was going to be 750 planes. It was cut back to 381 by all the military leaders. All those who were in the know felt like that would be able to handle the threat. Now we've had no change in strategy that I'm aware of, and that nobody's been able to point out to me, because the QDR, which is what we use to set up our strategy, has not been released and won't be until later this year or early next year, my understanding. And yet the Secretary and the administration have proposed cutting the F-22 down to 187 if they just finish the ones in production right now. I'm wondering why. Why do we cut it to 187 instead of the 381? What is the reasoning behind that? It just seems like we start programs, never finish them, and instead of building to the need, we build to whatever we're able to scrounge out of the budget.
And you had an excellent point, which you've made